And welcome everyone to yet another episode of our weekly Satsang for the Soul. My name's Mark Bentley. I'm tuning in from Perth in Western Australia and here with my delightful co-host, tuning in from the Philippines, Miss Lee Green. So thank you everyone for joining us. I'll make sure I can get Lee on. Here we go. And so for those that are joining, I just want to say really thank you for tuning in. This Satsang for the Soul is really a moment out of time to come together and just really connect from the heart, to drop into the energies moving through the collective and do a little bit of storytelling to really, touch base with, what's happening here and how we can surf these waves more gracefully and rewrite our fairy tales in that sense. So how are you doing this morning, Lee?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you today?
Much more grounded after a couple of weeks of this blue storm energy. It's been wild, and it's been very busy on the DSO platform, the decentralized socials, or the community been creating all these videos and all this energy, has been stirred up during the storm. And so it was just last night, as I was mentioning before we jumped on, just found myself like right here at the very last day where we are in this blue cosmic monkey, just feeling that lightness and steadiness. So feeling better. How about yourself?
Yeah, I can see that in you. I can sense that. Getting grounded, that's so awesome that yeah, because you were mentioning the videos last week. So yeah. I'm doing
Exciting
good.
times.
Surfing the waves as always. Blue cosmic monkey, here we are closing this blue storm wave spell. And what we have learned or gathered so far.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Starting our... How you feel about it? Starting our day with some music.
Some songs. What, Leah? I think we all long for this moment every week. I know for myself, it's like I think I sent you a message last night that it's like I'm looking forward to Satsang in the morning and to hear your voice, to hear your music is such a potent way to land. So how are you bringing us in today?
Absolutely. Thinking about the storm and what it represents, even I sometimes get filled with worry. And I want to bring in this energy of Bob and his beautiful music, eternal, really timeless. Timeless message of love, of peace. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun. 3 little birds perched by my doorstep, singing sweet songs of melodies pure and true. Singing, this is my message to you. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. This song is meant to be for you, and you've been caught up in the swirl of the past few days. It's always good to have music to remind us that it's gonna be okay. Rise up this morning, I smile with the rising sun. 3 little birds perched by my doorstep, singing sweet songs, a melodies pure and true, singing, this is my message to you. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Welcome to the last day of the Blue Storm Wave spell. We are on a day called the Blue Cosmic Monkey with my brother Mark. Universe telling us everything's gonna be all right. So welcome to another beautiful day of Satsang for the soul, wherein we can dive into the magic of a living system that is called the 13 Moon Dreamspell. It's a modern interpretation of the sacred calendar of the ancient Maya, which is the Zolkin, their spiritual calendar. And every day it's about tuning in to the frequency energy that is pulsing from the center of this galaxy, what they call Kunaku. And today, a beautiful being called Bob Marley is reminding us that everything is gonna be alright. If we can find the eye of the storm, it's gonna be all good. So welcome, good morning and good evening to everyone listening.
Good morning, good morning. Lee, you have such a talent for picking these songs. I think it's you know, if you think of the biggest spectrum of humanity right now, we're still children. We're still children on this beautiful planet, finding our way and exploring. And sometimes that's all we really need, right? Just a little comforting voice, that nurturing touch, you know, that strong fatherly hand, or the soft, nurturing motherly voice, obviously masculine, feminine archetypes, yada, yada. But just that bit that just says, it's going to be okay, you know, so we can just take a breath.
It's like giving ourselves the permission to not be so stressed about things.
Yeah.
I like it. Sometimes when I find that I'm being too serious or I'm super caught up in things, and you know, I always think about life playing a joke on us. It's like we become too serious of everything, and I really like this this saying that, you know, no one's gonna make it out of here alive. And so it's just so it's funny, it's kind of morbid, it's kind of like the urgency, like, yeah, if you really think about that, we're not no one's gonna make it out of here alive. So far the mortality rate is still 100% for everybody. And so what happens within this mortal life? To me, that's where the magic is.
Absolutely, Lee. You know, as you were singing, and I was sitting here looking at the blue cosmic monkey archetype, and you know, the affirmation for this, each of these archetypes have an affirmation. And so this one is, and this really touched me and relates to what you're sharing here so deeply. I endure in order to play. Right there, that first line, you know, is a deep contemplation. How can you endure in order to play? But so it's, I endure in order to play, transcending illusion. I seal the process of magic. With the cosmic tone of presence, I am guided by the power of vision. So guided by the eagle today. And I had this little stream flood through my head while I was listening to music, looking at this and just smiling and feeling that lightness, that Bob Marley, like you say, the blue self-existing monkey, this man who just broke these illusions and cracked them open and penetrated into your heart. And I was thinking of conversations I've had with my son, with Felix, right? And so both of us, we're both avid gamers. We love gaming online and different things, but not just that, but just playing in games in general. And I remember in the, as he was quite young growing up, these young children, they have a challenge learning how to lose sometimes in the beginning. It's this having the thing, if they're struggling a bit in the beginning of the game, learning the rules, and they can easily want to give up, because the game seems unfair. It's not fair. You've played forever and I haven't. And how am I going to win now? And it's like, well, you need to endure the process of learning. You need to endure the stretching, the strengthening, the muscles you need to build, the reflection, what do you call them? Your movements and different things that need to be trained to get good at the game. And that takes time. So you need to endure in order to play. And we would often talk about how when you take things too seriously, it becomes painful. When we become too identified with the game itself, which is often what happens at a young age, right? When one of their toys breaks, they get so upset because they haven't quite created that boundary between what's me and what's my toy. What's me and what's these things, my family, my friends. And so a lot of us are still playing this game of life with that very kind of youthful attitude of like, I am the game. The game is me, my character is me. And so if something happens to my character, if my character's struggling in the game right now, this sucks, I don't want to play anymore. And that can be where depression kicks in, all these things, because we've taken the game too serious, forgetting that it's an illusion, right? That it's an illusion of human experience. And that doesn't mean it's not real as such. I mean, that's down to definitions and deep conversation there, which really needs to go into quantum physics. But once we really understand that, we're in a game. And if we take it too seriously, we're going to be so caught up in, we're going to want to give up and we're not even going to try. Whereas like you said, Lee, it's a game. No one's getting out of this alive. So give it your best shot, really get in there. And you're going to need to endure in order to play the game of life. Endure the storms, endure the challenges, and trust that there's gold to be found. And I was just going to say, and the real lesson at the end of that with Felix and I was, I was talking to myself as much as him really is, games become so much more fun, right? Like these games, even when you're losing, all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm having a bad run, but at least I can practice getting you and just change your strategy. So instead of trying to be the king of the score list, now I'm just going, well, I'm going to practice building, or I'm going to practice something else. It's not really just so I get better while I'm not having a great luck. And then all of a sudden, when we stop taking it so serious, it's so much more fun. And when you take it serious, that's where you rage quit. That's where you see people just quitting the game, slamming their keyboards or pushing away or walking away from the basketball court or whatever it is. And it's just because we take it too serious.
Totally. I love that the monkey archetype is to play, and when you were mentioning to endure, that's actually a symbol of maturity. If you're able to come into that understanding that you'll have to endure and persevere and move forward and transcend it, and move through it, not really push through it, but really just more like move through whatever difficulty it is, just like the storm, or whatever difficult moment, whether it's whether different emotions like grief, anger. How do we endure these sometimes long lasting emotions that we hold? And if we can endure and move through it, then we can release it and transcend it. Then we can play. If a feeling or an emotion, for example, anger, stays for more than 20 minutes, it's not a feeling anymore. It's an emotion. There's some memory attached to it. There are some wounds, some things around it, that it's not just a feeling. So it is a part of your system, and it's something that we have to work on. I'm saying we have to if we want to. If you want to move through it, then it's just something that we will do. We experience it, we feel it, we endure, and we transcend, and we move forward. Otherwise, it's just always there under the rug, and it's continue building this rug until later we walk on this rug, and the build up underneath the rug is already a mountain, and we just fall over, you know.
And it all just comes
So yeah,
flying out in front of your face when you land face down, right?
yeah. So we might as well like deal with it as it comes, because no
Yeah.
matter what happens, we're still gonna deal with it. So yeah, the blue monkey
Absolutely.
archetype is, it's also teaching me how to, it's a teacher of how to not take things personally.
Right there, Lee, that not take things so personally. That has been so present in my thoughts over the last few days and conversations around me in that sense. You know, that it can never really be personal because someone doesn't know you. Like, I mean, I don't know me and I'm still learning all about me. And that's a lifetime of, eternity of a mission. So if I don't know me, my real me, and I'm still discovering that, nobody else can really know the real me, just like I can't really know the real them. So in which case, when someone has a reaction to me, or I have a reaction to someone else, I'm reacting to my perception of someone else, not the truth of who they are as such, but rather a projection that comes from my own wounding, those emotions you just talked about that are stored up, that are wanting to be digested. So in a way, they project out and say, well, if you won't come in here and look at me, then look at me out here, overlaid onto this experience. And so in that sense, we can be so triggering to each other at times, but in the end, it can never be personal, right?
That's really where the work is. I find that, yeah, it's not easy.
It's not
to
easy. It's true.
not take things personally. I mean, we're all like what they say is human. What does that mean? Sometimes I think about that. Oh, it's our humanity. It's like, it kind of like, in a way, even as I speak about that, it makes me feel like being human is something that is of a lower, um, frequency. That, oh,
Yeah.
it's our humanity. It's our, almost like it's the natural being of being human is kind of very primitive in a sense. I would just say primitive, or maybe consciously not as evolved. So yeah, it takes a while to to get to that level, I guess, of being always okay with whatever changes or difficulties happening, because you've learned through time to not take things personally. I think, uh, in the same breath, this can also be taken way out of context,
Yeah.
and flee a situation where you need to be taking responsibility, and you're just going to be like, oh, that's your issue. I don't need to, it's your fault. This is, that's your projection. That's your projection of me. And I don't have any, I can't do anything about that. And it's your work on yourself. You're just projecting it on me. You see this dance. It's kind of annoying sometimes. Because it
Absolutely.
depends on which quote unquote spiritual circles you're in. And I would say quote unquote, because sometimes the more spiritual people tend to project themselves to be, all the lingo is there, but maybe the practice is not there.
Yeah.
I love the idea that the more spiritually evolved we are, the quieter we become. because we don't need to tell people anymore how spiritual we are. We don't need to post pictures of ourselves with all these spiritual tools and market it to the world that, look, I am spiritual. Look at my whole Instagram feed of how spiritual I am and the things I am doing. It's such a very fine line,
Mm.
of where that is and what is the intention, right? So in those moments, I find that maybe perhaps all these spiritual concepts can be taken out of context, and instead of again taking responsibility for our own things, it's a projection, because it's a bypassing of sort. It's a spiritual bypass that, oh, this is not my issue, this is your issue. I'm just going to walk out and not work on it, even though there are parts of it that we have to take responsibility of, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think that's really the discernment right there. You put it so perfectly is, I think so many make this mistake, right? Of thinking that when we say playfulness, the blue monkey in this kind of archetype, that they kind of relate it to recklessness. And it's like, no, 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 no. Being lighthearted and playful does not mean you need to also be ignorant and stupid. It's like that's kind of a past kind of concept of what silliness is all about. But it's like you can be very lighthearted, very playful, but very responsible as well. Because in the end, we are all responsible for everything we have the ability to respond to. So when someone comes to you with their projections, and like you say, it's such a fine line. Sometimes you can really feel that projection. You can almost see the wound in them that's coming at you. And it's like, whew, okay. But then in that point, I have an ability to respond. Do I try and defend myself as if what they feel about me means something to me, or I need to convince them, no, that's your projection. That in a sense is my insecurity projecting back out, trying to, like you're saying, is I need to change something there. Whereas I have an ability to respond in that moment. And if I can be aware, and if I'm feeling that what's coming is a projection, and I take a moment and check in and go, is there truth in this? And have the courage, and then see what makes me uncomfortable about what they're saying. Then I can start finding what medicine is in it for me. And from that place, I have a choice of how I respond, right? I can respond by trying to be defensive, by trying to convince them of something else, by trying to, in a sense, taking it personal. Or I can lightheartedly just smile and receive what they've got to say, give them an opportunity. Okay, if that's how you feel, I respect that. I feel differently, but I don't need to convince you of anything. And you should never say that to them either. I don't need to convince you of anything, because that's still the game, right? So yeah,
I
responsibility.
Responsibility, the greatest strength of the monkey. If we can push past these uncomfortable boundaries we put on ourselves and take responsibility of the mess that we create when we go and cross that boundary, then it shows us a real sign of our maturity. And I respect that in people, actually. It's not to say that, again, the seriousness of just stay within the lines, because I think we're missing the point of life. Life as our expression of how we wish to be. It's not about just being good or positive all the time. But sometimes we need to experience that negative part, maybe, if that's what we want. But when we recognize that that's not in alignment with our lives, with what we say, with how we act, with how we want to feel, then we can also switch back and take responsibility of what mess we created, and be humble enough that you can recognize or acknowledge that you kind of messed things up a little bit. And I think at the end of the day, spirituality has a lot to do with humility. And can we really be humble? That's the question. Can we really humble ourselves in the eyes of each other? And then I think that's where true forgiveness can come through. Because I think we're also ready to forgive when someone crosses that boundary. you know, like that energy of blue monkey that's just really playful and pushing your buttons and things like that. And maybe there's a part that's not really intentionally malicious. But when we can recognize the sincerity, and again, this is humility, and it's this is all just energy. You know, when someone is in front of you, it's just really energetic. We really just sense whether this is an authentic apology. Doesn't have to have tears, but when you send an authentic apology, I find that when I experience that, I actually also say sorry. I actually,
Mm.
I'm the one like, no, I am sorry.
Yeah,
No,
right.
no matter how fired up we get, but when we see someone that really feels really bad about what they've done to you, then it makes you feel, no, no, I'm also sorry. No, it's also,
Mm.
you know, I also did something. So it becomes this conversation of, um, yeah, how can, you know, we can recognize that we both maybe hurt each other, like for example now through the storm, right? Like this blue storm wave swell that's been happening, so so many things have been really like all that gunk in the air, and it's just staring up there, and we're just kind of like stir crazy right now, and life is, you know, shifting, and it's easy to be in our emotions and just,
Mm.
you know, be in the intensity of our emotions. And I'm speaking directly of my experience in the past 13 days, you know, and I'm still working through coming into that space of, oh, I know I have some work in this area that I need to do, but my emotion, my pride is getting in the way. And that's my work. You know, my work is to look at why I hold such pride in this space. And me talking about humility right now, like, oh, that is the medicine that I need. Um, yeah. So the reality of what's going on every single day, as the Maya, they understand that there are specific energetics, frequency is just information that's being broadcasted from the center of this galaxy, and it's tapping into that and allowing ourselves to be in alignment with that energy. We know that that's moving through, but it's just our awareness of looking into what is the energy of the day. And to me, that's really revolutionary. um, the Mayan dream spell is an incredible tool for personal development because you're no longer being swirled by the energies of what's happening around us, because we are not doing it. It's really doing itself. And the best thing that we can do is get a forecast. Because when we have a forecast and we are traveling somewhere, we can prepare. We cannot stop that rain or whatever it is that's coming to our destination, but we can better be prepared to what to expect, how to dress, and all these things. And that's the same way I find the Mind Dream spot to be. I know that the storm is coming, and I know that there's going to be a lot of my issues going to be up in the air.
Yeah.
And it's going to be another opportunity to deal with these issues that I'm ready to release.
Mm.
And I can take this opportunity and use the energy that the universe is giving me so I can move through them. That's how I see it. That's how I experience the 13 moon dream spell as a support, a great support in our life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like you say, it helps, you know, having that forecast. And it's like when this all starts happening and it goes, it's been, I can't say how many times where I might lose track of where we are in the flow, where I'm getting a bit out of joint. And then I'll flick open the app on the phone and go, hang on a second. Something, you know, a little synchronicity will make me go, yeah, maybe have a look at the dream spell. And I'll have a look and be like, oh, right. It's nothing personal. It's just the weather. You know? And all of a sudden, okay, so by understanding the archetypes, it helps me become a little more efficient, you know, cosmically efficient at being able to take the medicine and allow it to do its work rather than fighting the medicine. Like a child that when they take the medicine out, I don't want it. You have to kind of, right? The dream spell is almost like the sugar in the or like the sugar in the medicine, the sweetness, the flavor that kind of helps you take the medicine, in that way. But yeah. Now, speaking of which, Lee, we are, being that we're at the end of the Blue Storm wave spell, that means that we're opening a new wave spell tomorrow, which is the wave spell of the yellow human. So all of these cycles run in 52-day cycles, so 4 wave spells to every season. And you have the red wave spell is all about initiating something, stirring something up for that season. The white is then refining, the blue is then catalyzing and transforming in different ways, and then the yellow is all about the ripening, right? So this is a really powerful moment, I feel, and I'm really feeling this deeply in my bones this round. The more I follow these cycles, I'm sure you can relate to this as well, the more I really can feel them in the air, like tangible. And what's beautiful is when you move through the blue storm, because these things aren't here just as karma or punishment or anything like this, right? They're evolutionary mechanisms of consciousness, that we kind of just take a little too personal. And this blue storm is like breaking up and stirring up a lot into the air. So, because once things are broken up, we can rebuild much easier. Because if you try and change a system when the system is strong and solid, like old politics, old economics, old things, it's very hard to change a system when it's, rock solid. But then when the storm comes, it breaks it all and starts showing where all the weaknesses always were. We just couldn't see them. And so we've gone through cracking and seeing where all the weaknesses are, breaking down old forms, internal forms in ourselves, in our society, in our work, etc. So this yellow human is all about, really embracing each of our own free will to decide how do I want to influence the world with my wisdom. Wisdom being my experience, what I've learned from my experience in my life over this storm wave spell and everything else. This next 2 weeks coming is really, for me anyway, an invitation to look at, okay, well, let's look at what's left over after the storm. That's that monkey energy, more playful. It's, all right, that was one big battle. Now let's see what's left. Now what's behind and what's inspiring to share. How do I want to do it? Not how has things been working, or what does the world want from me? What would be the most smartest, logical for business? But how do I want to influence the world? What wisdom do I want to share? And what's going to help influence my world? And I think this is really relevant because, we're having conversations. After this call, you and I are going to be sticking around a bit longer and talking about, where we're going with the dream spell, etc. Alex, by the way, has said, hey, awesome people in the YouTube. He's tuning in. So, Alex and I are, we're doing some amazing things with Clout Forum, new things coming and really getting solid of how are we going to influence these communities and things, and how do we want to influence in that sense. So I feel like all around us in the world right now, there's a lot of people in this flow feeling this. So if you're watching this, now's a good time to let go of your obsession of how you thought things need to be and start reconnecting to how do you want to go forwards building? What is it that inspires you and excites you in that sense?
Beautiful. It's amazing that we've had a few episodes already up until today, and we're coming into completions as everything. It's all about cycles. It's a great time, and also on the planet, in the Gregorian calendar, we are coming into the end of an amazing year. Amazing because it's just how you want to see it. Not because relatively amazing things on the planet with regards to this situation, the global situation of the pandemic, but amazing in terms of how much opportunity is being given to us to create something new out of the old world that is dying. So many things dying right now, and parts of ourselves dying too. And you know, a 13 moon dream spell calendar is a reminder to come back into cyclical living. Women know that. Women are really closely live, you know, they know that deep within their bones. We know that because we bleed with the moon, and we know that
Mm.
everything comes in cycles. You know, in a month there is a cycle where you're outgoing and creative, and then there's a part of the month where you're just more withdrawn, just in your own space, receptive. You know, when you're bleeding, it's not about being out there, it's about being inside and really connecting with the wisdom from your blood that's coming through your insights, your intuition. Then after that period, as a period of preparing again to manifest something. So it's this deep understanding of cycles, how life, everything in life is cyclical in nature. So just with the thought of cycles, you know, in our life, it's also cycles. And there are sometimes like shorter cycles and there are greater cycles in it. The ancient Maya, they understand this as baktuns. There are many different long counts, short counts. And since so many things, especially since December 21, 2012, an ending or a meeting point where greater cycles have also come into an ending when new cycles began. It's also a great opportunity on the planet to recognize what kind of world we really want to give birth to, you know,
Mm.
in this new cycle. And yes, we can do things simultaneously. We can do things in creating that world inside of ourselves, and also that directly affects the world that we want to create or that we can create outside of ourselves. So, talking about cycles, everything has its ending, everything has its beginning, just as life. And nothing is ever linear, nothing is just ever flatline. Even life itself, when you look at the meter, you know, it has to go up and down, and and when it's just flat, then there's no life.
Yeah.
You're just flatline. And so it's also giving thanks to those ups and downs that we experience in this
Mm.
life, and know that it's also part of a cycle, and that all our challenges also have their cycles. And then maybe we'll come back to those challenges again later, but with a greater understanding the next time around. So yeah, I'm grateful for this time that we've had in Satsang for the Soul, and for people who have tuned in some weeks. And you know, we really are super grateful to have and start this community in BitCloud that has everything to do with Satsang means to be in company of truth. And again, truth has many perspectives. We're not saying that this is the truth, our way is the truth, no, but we can only share from what's true to us. And that's what this
Mm.
space is about. We're sharing what is true for us, for Mark and I, in our experience, because that's what holds truth in our lives. And in our experience of tracking the dream spell, this is a way that we can share with you our insights through the years. So if you're really keen on shifting your paradigm of understanding of how time is really evolving in this world, 13 moon. Returning to a 13 moon cyclical living is really such an amazing step into shifting the paradigm of our reality and come into harmony with nature and cycles of time again. And so it's been a great pleasure to be here to share every week. And we, you know, are excited to dream what's going to
Mm.
come in the future, because, you know, life is exciting. We want to keep evolving. We want to keep moving forward. We want to have some prana. We want to have some life force behind this gathering. So it's a good space, ending of the year, being thankful of everything that had happened in this Gregorian year. And it's time to come back. If it's the 13th, you know, when we talk about the 13, it's just about presence. even though this is the 12 months in the Gregorian calendar.
Yeah.
Think as if this is like the ending, and think about that energy of ending. And the ending in the Mayan dream spell is called a cosmic. So it's all about presence, looking back at the Gregorian year 2021. What are you grateful for? What do you want to improve? How do you want to move forward? What else do you want to manifest, or what has manifested for you? And it's a good space to transcend things that have been limiting us. As we welcome a new Gregorian year of 2022, it's going to be an exciting year if we want it to be. It's going to be a bad year if we want it to be. That's the beauty of this universe. You can't design it however you want. So the invitation is to design something that you want instead of having the universe design something that it thinks it wants for you.
Mm. Absolutely. There's Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks with the channeling with law of attraction. And so I've always loved her work. And it's a very simple kind of concept. It's not because often people would think law of attraction is all about, I'm going to think about a car, I'm going to imagine the car, and I'm going to get that car. And she'd always bring it back. It's the, feel the emotion, feel the feeling of sitting in that car, of the joy of what it is you would get from the car as opposed to the car. And if it's the car that is actually going to deliver that feeling, then that's what will turn up. But often it's something even better, and then we get too obsessed with how we want things to be. And so, like you say, moving into this next year, it's like, let's consolidate, bring it all together, take a moment to reflect, and make it a great year, and feel that difference between enduring in order to play through this mad, wild adventure, or kind of giving up into the struggle and just becoming depressed. It's kind of like that's what happens when we surrender and we don't move and we stop moving. And so that's beautiful. And so for everyone watching this replay, please do comment and let us know on this episode. We've got one more episode for season 2 of Clark Forum. So we've got a bunch of fun interviews, different things coming up over the next 2 weeks, and we'll have a big finale around the 10th. We haven't locked that in yet, so Lee, if you can make it, that'd be awesome, but we'll let you know. And where we'll have all our guests and speakers and people that have been on season 2 to come together. So we will be closing season 2 for Client Forum end of next week. And then after that, taking a couple of weeks to reset, re-prepare, and relaunch season 3 for Client Forum in 2022, which is going to be exciting with a few changes, few shifts. We're stepping up the game a bit. We're going to have a new website ready and new events page and new different things that are going to help make this a lot easier to bring into cohesion. So really want to say thank you to everyone that has tuned in to this live stream along the way. Alex, for everything you've held in the back. And Alex has been at every one of these, tuning in, watching as well, and really enjoys it. And Lee, for you, for being here, for being part of this, for choosing to use your free will and your wisdom to contribute towards influencing this space and going forwards. And it's exciting times. So as I was saying, feedback from all of you that have been watching, that have tuned in, what you loved, what maybe you didn't enjoy as much, just some feedback, so Lee and I really know what the community would love to be experiencing and taking part in. And we'll step back from the Satsang for the soul after we're finished here, and then we'll really come back into connection together and feel what's being brought to life. And Lee, I'm going to be getting in touch with Jacob from Law of Time. And I think I'm really feeling like 2022 is going to be the year of the communities on BitClout, on DSO, and time for us to start setting up the nodes and bringing them in. So that might be our next step. We'll see.
Oh my God, my smile. Yes, I had a chat with Jacob on another forum, and I really was, I was expressing how it would be so wonderful to have him, maybe part of a call, one of these Satsang for the soul, and just be in the same space together, talking about this. And he's an amazing person, wisdom keeper, that, I'm sure our viewers would love to hear from, um, that really works directly with the foundation for law of time. So it's also amazing and magical to co-create with his magic.
Absolutely.
That would be
So
amazing.
Jacob, I'm going to tag him when we share this replay on DSO. So I'm going to tag you, Jacob. So if you have watched it and you've gotten to the end, here's an invitation. Let's start that conversation. Let's start that conversation. See how we can all work together going into the new year, or the new Gregorian year.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yeah, super. Thank you. Thank you,
Beautiful.
Alex. And thank you, yeah, to the guys over at Cloud Forum for, providing the space for us to create this program.
Yeah,
We can
absolutely.
share.
We've got exciting days ahead, Lee. And before I forget, Alex did put a comment in. So, and by the way, anyone who watches this, we keep a live stream so you can join the conversation. And one of the things Alex mentioned in relationship to the yellow human wave spell that we were entering was, and by the way, saying thank you, Lee. So on the YouTube chat, it's sometimes people should accumulate before they share. And he's really referring, I think, to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, but this tendency we talk about, how do you want to influence the world around you? That's one of those things that, good you pick this up, Alex, can be easily misunderstood as saying that we should go around telling everyone what to do, right? That, I'm going to, that's how I choose to influence. So Lee, you should be like this. And that's not what we're talking about. Absolutely. Because as you pointed out, Alex, is, as far as I'm concerned, when we gain this wisdom first and foremost needs to be put through my own laboratory, my own inner world, because in the end, that's the only place I really have power to make real change is in me. And as the old quote says, be the change, you want to see in the world. It's like that wisdom needs to be applied to myself first. And then it's not the direct wisdom teaching necessarily to others, but my embodied expression of that wisdom that is going to influence the world around me. The way I carry myself, the way I hold myself will be what influences the world around me and how I play the game. As opposed to, so that's really what I personally mean when I say yellow human. How do you choose your free will in how you influence the world around you with wisdom? Is, how to use that wisdom in your own being so that you can influence through your expressions in that sense. So I appreciate, Alex, you brought that up. And yeah, I just want to also give a shout out and acknowledgement, Lee, to Alex, because Alex is one of these amazing people. It's like he and I have worked together now with Cloud Forum for about 6 or 7 months. I don't even know how long it is anymore, Alex. It feels like I've known you my whole life. And one of the most admirable things about this man that I value in my life so strongly, because it's a rarity for me, is he says how he feels. He expresses it. And he says, like he's even posted in the thing, it's my personal opinion. This is how I feel. It's having that directness. He and I often have some very blunt, direct conversations. And it's so nice just to be able to go, okay, that's how you feel. Okay, this is how I feel. All right. And then we listen. And there's this tension that builds, and that tension creates this breakthrough. And then it's just, we're more connected than ever after every single conversation and keep growing. Yeah, so since June. So big shout out, Alex. You're a beautiful man, and I love your work. And thank you so much for your support.
Thank you, Alex. And yeah, one liner and it hits right there. You have to gather first before you share. That's true. And I wanted to just briefly, relate that with the yellow human and what that means in terms of we live in a world of influencers, and influencing people is a job right now. Instagram, all the social media, people with a lot of clout, people with a lot of followers, and influencing them on what to buy, lifestyle. At the end of the day, it's about business. Instagram, I found out that Instagram is for business. It's how businesses are growing, and it's great because there are a lot of really amazing green products out there, that we don't see in the television, the way that the old way of of marketing, but now it's in our phones. It's very through the algorithm of what's personal for us. And then you have people that might like that product, and they might have followers that would be your target market. So you can hire them to influence their followers to buy your product. So relating that to what Alex is saying, being an influencer is also a really great responsibility, because the more followers that you have the responsibility of where you bring their consciousness. So it's
Mm,
important where your consciousness is as an influencer, because are we where are we directing the influence or the consciousness of the people following us? Is it for what's good for them, or is it self-serving?
yeah.
Is it, and at the same time, why I wanted to talk about that is because influencing, a lot of it I find with teachers, like with the real masters in the sense that not because they're master, they have people who are like bowing to them and calls them master, but they have mastered their own selves. That's what the master teachers represent in the real sense. And there are these people that have lived, and some are still here, master teachers that are embodied. And that's really what it is when we look at people that we really resonate with or we're drawn, because we want to feel the way that they do. And it's not about them teaching us how they're doing it, but because we're drawn to them, because that's the state of being that we like. In the same way that's why rock stars and the musicians have fans that are like these artists, that they attract these fans, because it's a sense of self that the fans are attracted to, that they want to imbibe. It's not because I'm a fan of yours because you're so good looking, and it's because there is a part of this person that we want to capture inside of us, like when artists, they show up and it's this sense of confidence that's really unbeatable, because we want that confidence. That's why I'm
Mm,
idolizing that. I want that confidence that he has. And so we follow them because we want to feel, we want to get to a place where, yeah, that's something that I don't have yet in my life. So in a way, that's how that is being influenced. And so it's not so much about what the influencers are telling us to do, but it's how they're being. In the same breath, the real teachers are teaching wisdom, not really verbal teaching, but by them sitting in silence, we feel something. And we want to also feel that in our being.
mm,
So gathering first, like Alex said, and coming to that place, it will just speak for itself. You don't need to even say that I have enough wisdom. You just either do or don't. It will be based on how you're being, and through that beingness, that's how we can influence others to have the same feeling that we feel. Does that make sense?
it does, my dear. It does. And it feels like a perfect way to bring this into an end. Just stitched it all beautifully together. So just as you're getting ready for that, I just want to do a shout out to everyone who's watching, who you will have heard us mention. DeSo is decentralized social blockchain. And it's actually this very thing that you're sharing, Lee, is why I'm so passionate and why we're working so hard to build community on this decentralized social blockchain. So, and because it's a place where we can start changing the environment, that the way influencers are rewarded, the way influencers are encouraged in Instagram, Facebook, etc., is quite it's challenging to be well behaved and still thrive in those worlds. It's encouraging certain kinds of behaviors, whereas in a decentralized open source world, goodness of heart is actually really well rewarded, and that's the decentralized social blockchain. So and Christopher Prinster is on YouTube, just said I love it and loved what you were sharing there, so thanks for joining us, Christopher. And so
Hi, Christopher.
at the end of this, with the replay, I'm going to add a little suggested video, which will lead on to about what is DSO and why it's so important to look into and understand why we're doing all this work on the platform. And if that resonates with you, then please do make a profile, tag us in it. Our tags are on the videos. And yeah, I'd love to start connecting and building this network and grow it. So with that, it's goodbye from me. Thank you so much for tuning. Lee, take it away.
Time really slips by so quickly in these spaces. Yeah, grateful for another Tuesday where we can come together and share space, Mark. It's been great pleasure, really, to have this, to share this together. I started with a song called Three Little Birds. I wanted to end with Three Things by Jason Mraz. I love this guy. And I want to share this song because of the energy that when the blue storm, which is ending now, has come and shifted things in our lives. You know, how do you start over? You know, the earlier in our program, it's everything's gonna be all right. Just trust it's gonna be all right. You know, transcend it. It's gonna be fine. And this is a great song to close it. It captures that feeling of what do you do when you are starting over. I do when my life falls apart. Number one, I cry my eyes out and dry up my heart. Not until I do this will my new life start. So that's the first thing that I do when my life falls apart. Second thing I do is I close both of my eyes and say my thank yous to each and every moment of my life. I go where I know that love is and let it fill me up inside, gathering new strength from sorrow. I'm glad to feel alive. Things are looking up. I know above the clouds the sun is shining. Things are looking up. I know beyond the clouds the sun is shining on three little things. I pause, I take a breath and bow, and I let the chapter end. I design my future bright, not the way my life has been. And I try again. Yes, I try again. Things are looking up. I know beyond the dark the sun is shining. Oh, things are looking up. I know above the clouds the sun is shining on. Things are looking up. Love is still the answer. I'm relying on three little things. with so much love, with so much gratitude, we close this episode of Satsang for the Soul with my dearest brother Mark and I. In gratitude, we really give thanks for all the blessings and all the magic so far that this program, Satsang for the Soul, has opened up in our lives. And so, to all of you tuning in, again, this is the ending of the Blue Storm Wave spell. And I hope that it has provided some housekeeping cleaning in our lives. Opportunity to forgive. Storm is really cleansing. It's about cleaning. It's about regenerating. It's about energy. It's about catalyzing shifts. And so, ending of cycles, ending of season. We look forward to seeing you in our next final episode, so tune in. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Lee. We'll see you all next week for our last session of season 2. Thanks for joining.